Welcome back to Chickens. So yeah, this is an unexpected video. So uh, explain some change of plans in terms of reading. So I think I said in my commitments and most anticipated reads, and I think also in maybe one of my other videos that I was going to do the swapping screen time for reading challenge once a month for quite a few months. But like the second time I tried to do that challenge, it just ended up being kind of a busy time, and so I kind of realized my books might be becoming too important of a priority if I want to read all these. And I think I'd seen a video recently about how like challenging yourself to read these so many books can be kind of harmful and stuff. So so I kind of changed up my TBR because I realized some of the books, okay, maybe I don't want to read some of these as much. So yeah, and even my last two vlogs, things that they weren't really the swapping screen time for reading challenge. So yeah, so expect the next few videos to be recent reads. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a weird video. This was originally going to be a tangent in my next recent reads video, but then as I was kind of like putting together the notes for that, I realized that I had a lot to say about this, and I was like, this could be its own video. This is gonna be a very weird video because it's just me talking about problems I have with the way I read or like the way I like books. I don't know how to explain it, but I need to talk through this stuff because yeah. All right. So if you've been around my channel a while, especially if you've watched some of my really recent reads, you might have noticed that the main thing that like determines whether I like or don't like a book is whether or not I'm drawn in. And I think since like my last video, possibly even before that, I've started to really hate that for a few reasons. I think the first reason is that I realized I wasn't always like this. I realized I wasn't always needing to be drawn in. So I think I've talked about in my other video, like, I think I've always liked reading, but there have just been times where I've been more into it than other times. Um, so what we're gonna go back to, because I think one the part I'm mainly thinking of is high school, particularly grades 11 and 12, and especially grade 12. I was an avid reader, and I think I used to think that all those books, or most of those books, just drew me in. But I think now thinking about it more, I think I just didn't really care about that as much. Like I think I just solely loved reading that I didn't care if I was drawn in. And I realized that oftentimes from what I remember, because I don't have a lot of documentation of what I thought about all those books, when I didn't like a book, it was usually because I had a problem with something that happened in the story. And I remember thinking about that, like, oh, that was so great. And another reason that I don't really like that I have to be drawn in is because I feel like I rate books higher or lower than I should because most of it is based on being drawn in. And usually when I rate a book lower, I usually say it's because I wasn't drawn in. Like I think I unconsciously decided that if I wasn't drawn into a book, I'd give it 2.75 stars. Um, and usually if I give it that, it's just no, I wasn't drawn in. And but so that is kind of like, I don't know, I guess I feel kind of bad about that. But then also a problem is that when I rate a book like higher, like 4 stars and above, what'll usually happen is, this hasn't always happened, but sometimes I'll be like, I'll rate it 4 stars because I was really drawn in, but then I'll look around for other reasons why I liked it. And I think actually a good example of this will show up in my next recent reads, but the other one I can think of right now, which this isn't in my notes, so this might be a little rambly, was Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. There were some problems I had and like things I didn't agree with. But like I still gave it 4 stars because mostly because I was drawn in. And then I remember doing my review, I was kind of looking around. That was I think one of the first times I was looking around for other reasons why I liked it. So but one book that I'll touch on that I realized I needed to kind of do this was Skinny by Laura L. Smith. Um, I made a video on YouTube, but I listed it as unlisted. That's a whole thing, but maybe I'll make it public eventually. Um, but I remember it, but you can still find my thoughts on my Goodreads. Um, but I remember when I was talking about it, I said I was drawn in, but didn't really give any other reasons why I liked it. And in fact, I also gave some problems that I had with it. And I think even then, I think I even said in my review that maybe it only deserves 3 stars, but I enjoyed it enough for 4 stars, so maybe that's fine. Reason, um, why I haven't liked this, because I realized I don't really know what it takes for a book to draw me in. Like, I made a list right here of all the books, well, not all of the books that have drawn me in, but ones where I've specifically remembered being drawn in, well, at least in recent years. Um, so yeah, I'll list them all. So this isn't all the books, and also me listing these books, it's not an endorsement of each book. But these are, so we got Skinny by Laura L. Smith, Jasmine by M.D. Meyer, Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney, Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, Never Been Kissed by Melody Carlson, Keep Holding On by Suzanne Colasanti, 100 Days of Sunlight by Abby Emmons, kind of. We're going to come back to this one actually. Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. Yeah. And All That Really Matters by Nicole Deese, which I will talk about in my next recent reads. So, what do all those books have in common? Yeah, I don't. So, coming back to 100 Days of Sunlight, I think the author was intentionally trying to draw people in, and I've talked about, and I've seen, like, if you look on Goodreads, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I was in it from the first chapter, and I was not in it from the first chapter, and I literally don't know why. Like, and I remember being drawn in for other parts of the book, but for some reason not at the very beginning. So even when someone's trying to do that, I guess it doesn't always work on me. So I don't know what's going on. Now I kind of know for some of these what kind of drew me in, particularly for Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I know that I was drawn in because at the end of the chapter there would always be something that would intrigue me to the next chapter. So yeah, and then I think some of these are thrillers, so I think sometimes also when things are very tense that also draws me in, I think. But for some of the other ones, I don't know. Another problem that kind of goes with this, that it's hard to find books that'll draw me in because it seems like no one else is like this, where they really need to be drawn in by a book, or if they are like that, they're very good at hiding it. Um, but even if there were people in this kind of bookish space that are like that, as we've seen with the 100 Days of Sunlight, it's not a guarantee for me that what draws other people in will draw me in, because I don't know. So another part of this that I was kind of thinking about as I was like making this video is like, is this really a problem though? Because maybe there are other people out there who really need to be drawn in by a book, and maybe I could be a resource for that. But then a lot of people don't watch my videos. So sorry, I should say that again. Um, there's only a few people watch my videos, which I'm grateful for every single one of you. But like, yeah, so yeah, I don't know much of that a problem, but so, but because of all this, I have been trying recently to like books even if, well, I'm trying to find other reasons that we can like a book that's more than just being drawn in. I tried this with the book called when one of my book I just finished yesterday, which was The Solace of Water by Elizabeth Byler Yeats. At first I wasn't really liking it because I wasn't drawn in, but then when I picked it up again, some around the way I was like, okay, I need to find some way to appreciate it, and I gave it 4 stars. I think it deserves that. So yeah. So I think forward, because like maybe this isn't much of the problem, I think I'll try to still mention whether I was drawn in or not, but I guess she'll see. So anyways, that's the end of this video. Hopefully me rambling about this was somewhat entertaining, but yeah. Goodbye.